Good morning, everybody. Can you actually hear us, see us? I think today Joey looks a bit different. Also start with J, but the name spelled differently. So today, actually, welcome back everyone for our weekly AMAS session. So today we're actually covering the US market. You may see someone a little bit more unfamiliar, a new name, a new face here. Today we have JPMorgan also joining us. All right, so Joey is actually still on holiday. All right, he's in Japan. Not to worry, he's not affected by the earthquake. He's fine. So if anybody of you guys are wondering, yeah, he's okay. All right. So today we are going to cover the US market, like I've said. So as per usual, we will start off with a quick market outlook. I know a lot of you guys are aware that the FOMC or the Feds have just did the last rate cut of 2025, and what is it going to look like going into 2026? All right, so as per usual, stay all the way to the end because we will review 3 bonus stocks, one from me, one from Z, and of course one from JPMorgan as well. Okay, so before we begin, all right, just let me do a little bit of introduction. So if you guys haven't met Joey before, all right, or you have no idea who Joey is, you're just scrolling through Facebook, scrolling through YouTube, Joey is one of the top remisers in Philips Security. He has been in this industry for over 15 years now. All right, so he specializes in technical analysis, and today we are going to use his 1GT framework. All right, his 1GT framework and 1GT Pro indicator to actually do a quick analysis on those stocks that you guys are actually or have actually requested in the chat as well. All right, so without further ado, so we also have Z here with us. Joining us every week for the weekly AMAS. So today we're covering the US.
Sorry, I think before you introduce myself, you gotta introduce yourself first.
Okay, so if you haven't met, okay, so I'm Bervin. All right, so welcome back everybody. I mean, I see some familiar names here as well. So we got ABC coming back every week. All right, Yatri, hi, good morning. Jonathan, good morning as well. So all right, okay, so if you haven't met, my name is Bervin, like I've said. Okay, so a little bit about myself. As you can see, I'm a chartered financial analyst, charter holder, which just means I like to look at the macro environment versus the stocks as well. So I personally believe that fundamental analysis and technical analysis have to go hand in hand. All right, you cannot do one without the other. All right, so I think we also have here a market technician, all right, who is Z, who is very, very specialized, or her expertise is actually in technical analysis. So sometimes our team will have to consult her on some of the technical aspects of the chart as well. So maybe I'll just let Z introduce herself a little bit first. Z?
All right, thank you, Bervin. Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Z. So if you're new here, we do this every Friday, right, together with Bervin and Joey. But unfortunately, like what Bervin mentioned, Joey is still on holiday, so we have someone new today, which is Jai. Right, so a little bit about me is that like what Bervin mentioned, I'm a chartered market technician. Got my charter holder in 2024. So basically, it just means that I look at charts and trends a lot lah. Basically, just looking at chart lah. Right, and my philosophy is pretty simple, right? Is I don't want to overcomplicate things on the chart, because if you have too many indicators on a chart, that's where you sometimes might get a bit lost and you don't really know what to focus on, because this could be telling you one thing, then the other could be telling you another thing, right? So with Joey's 1GT Pro indicator, it makes it very simple, right? It makes your trading journey less intimidating as well, because with just a click of a button, you are able to very quickly see a bullish or bearish signal, right? And with the 7-point checklist that we have, that's where you have a clarity in terms of what to do, and it's something that is very structured and repeatable as well. So I think today we will be live for as usual 1.5 close to 2 hours, right? And we will try to cover as many US stocks as possible for you guys. Okay, so I think I'll pass the time back over to Bervin to introduce our newest team member today as well.
All right, thanks Z. Okay, so today we have someone very, very special. All right, so we have JPMorgan today joining us for the first time, for the Ask Him Any Stocks. All right, so if you guys want to say hi to JPMorgan in the chat, you can go ahead to do that as well. But a little bit of background. I think JPMorgan has been working together with us and Joey for close to about 3 years now. I think his expertise is a lot in trade execution. So if you guys are clients of Joey's under Philips Security, you may have already spoken to him. You may have heard his voice a few times, but now you can finally put a face to that voice as well. So maybe I'll just pass the time to Choy. All right, a little bit, and let him introduce himself to you guys. Choy, please.
Hi. Thanks, Mervin. So, hi everyone. I'm Jai. So, I guess you guys finally see me on live on YouTube. So yeah, good to see everyone here this morning. So, some of you guys might already know me. No, I've been assisting Joey with the operation and also client servicing and also trade execution since 2023. So actually, it has been more than 2 to close to 3 years. So I have actually learned a lot and built meaningful connections, helping whenever I can lah. So it's glad to see that now I'm stepping up. I'm able to bring more value to people around me as well with the experience that I've gained. So hope that this AMS will be able to add value to you guys as well, and I'm glad to be part of this as well. So with that, that's a brief introduction of myself. I'll pass my time back to Mervin.
All right, thanks, Jay. So many people. Wow, see, somebody say you are quite handsome. Jessica say hi. Right, Ivan also say hi to Jai. Awesome. Okay, great. So let me just very quickly do a little bit of a disclaimer. So every week we do this AMAS, but this AMAS is not a place where we are coming here to tell you to buy, to sell, not to buy, not to sell this stock. All right. So we always recommend or strongly recommend that you do your own due diligence. And this session is only for educational purposes. All right. So without further ado, I would like to dive into the market update first, and then we will dive into the stocks you guys are requesting. So of course, today is the US market AMAS. So I will just cover the S&P 500 first. All right, the S&P 500 first, and then if you guys want for me to either do the Dow Jones or do the Nasdaq, we can see what's up later on as well. Okay, so here we have the S&P 500. Just let me expand my screen a little more. Right there. I think it's a little bit small. Okay, I don't know whether it's better now if everybody can see the screen a little bit more clearer lah. Okay, so right now we have the SPX on the screen, which is the S&P 500 index. All right, so the S&P 500 index, I think since November, you saw a little bit of a sell down. Sellers actually came in as prices approached that 6,900 level. A little bit of concerns over the AI overvaluations as well, but we pretty much found a support. All right, pretty much found a strong support. That strong support continues to hold around the 6,500 levels. All right, this is the second time prices have consolidated and rebounded from this support. So that recovery was quite fast. I would say it was quite a steady recovery as well. Over the course of about 5 days, prices have approached the 6,900 level once again. All right, so I think as of yesterday, close, we actually see the prices actually briefly or very slightly closing above this 6,900 resistance level now, potentially may turn into a support. All right, we close at 6901.01. So that is 1 point above that resistance. So you want to consider it as broken. Yes, it's broken, but let's also monitor to see if prices or the index is able to hold above this level. I think quite expected that the Fed's rate cut actually came in, all right, a 0.25 basis point rate cut, bringing the interest rate to about 3.5 to about 3.75%. I think the market found a little bit of relief, but the Fed looks to be a little bit hawkish coming into 2026 or going into 2026, where they are only penciling in one rate cut potentially. All right, so I think right now, if this 6,900 level is able to hold, I have drawn that resistance up to that 7,000 psychological level for now. All right, so I'm not too sure because we don't have a lot of time left in 2025. I'm not too sure if the index is able to surge past very swiftly to that 7,000 level, but I think that could be a nearer term target for the very least. All right, so we have that 20 days moving average pretty much stabilizing already, not just pointing up just yet, but that longer term trend definitely still intact for the S&P 500. So for those of you guys who are trading the S&P 500 via ETF, or some of you could be doing it via options as well, I think this is a level to actually watch out for, that 7,000 level. As long as the 6,500 level is able to hold, the support is able to hold, I think we can be seem to be maybe moving a little bit more range bound first. All right, move a little bit more range bound first. I think that's a good sign. You want the index to be constantly consolidating before moving up. Okay, so I think that is the S&P 500. So maybe next one I will cover the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Right, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, I think I've seen quite a bullish move last night. I have seen quite a bullish move last night. We have a new 1GT bullish signal actually appearing, similar to the S&P 500. S&P 500 appeared 2 days ago, last night, but for the Dow Jones Industrial Average, it actually appeared on the 5th of December. All right, prices briefly consolidating under the 48,000 price level, and right now, as of last night's close, we have broken above it. All right, so I'll just change that color to green. All right, so with that 48,000 level giving way, I think that's a good sign that the market is looking, or market is still pretty much quite bullish heading towards the end of 2025. You could see some potential consolidation, a little bit of a sell down. I think completely normal as we approach that 49,000 level. I think many of those people who may want to start to take a little bit of profit to clean up their books perhaps towards the end of the year. But however, I think with the, as long as the 100 and 200 days moving average are still pointing up, I mean, the bullish crossover happened in September, but right now, I think it looks pretty good. We could have a lower high formation or higher low formation forming as well. All right, so here's the thing. For the 1GT Pro indicator, we have this thing called the trailing support and resistance. So when there is a 1GT bearish signal, yep, you will see a trailing resistance. When there's a bullish signal, you will see a trailing support. All right, you can see, just take this for example, on the 21st of August, we see a bullish signal, trailing support moves as prices moves higher, right? As long as that trailing support remains intact, that's a good sign. Why? It's because that trailing support gives the stock room to breathe. It takes into account the natural volatility of the stock, the index, you know, as long as you're able to hold above, I think that is still a pretty good sign that there could be continued momentum. But of course, if it breaks below, like here, sometime in November when there was that sell down, then of course not too good already. You want to tend to wait for a bullish signal. You can look out for a bullish signal to come in to give you the additional layer of confirmation that you actually need. All right, so the 1GT Pro indicator works for majority of, not majority, all of the asset classes that is available on TradingView because the indicator is on TradingView. All right, so as for now, we can see that the Dow Jones Industrial Average still under that 49,000 level. So that is the nearer term target. But I have projected upwards towards that 50,000 psychological level as long as that shorter term trend is able to pick up, because right now you can see it's still a little bit more flat. It's a little bit more flat. Once you start to see it point up a little bit more, buying interest starting to come back in. I'm not too sure whether in 2025 that will happen or not. Maybe in the start of 2026, but I think it's good to maybe set some alerts even on the index itself. All right, so this is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. I think forget to change the banner there, but no worries. So there is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So maybe I will just kick off the most requested stocks in the chat right now, so we can maybe perhaps start right there. So if you guys have any stocks that you guys want, I'm looking at the chat right now. If you guys have any stocks that you guys want a quick opinion on for the US market, because today we're covering the US market, next week we will go back to the Singapore market, can just give us a heads up in the chat. But of course, it will be very, very helpful if you guys can give us a little bit of context. Don't just say Microsoft. What do you want to know about Microsoft? Do you want our opinion on whether you should buy, should hold, what is the levels to watch out for? Have you bought? You just sold, you're looking to get back in? I think all these contexts can be a little bit more helpful so we can tailor the opinion to you. All right, let me just look at that chat very quickly right here. Okay, maybe I will pick this one first. All right, hi Jessica, good morning. Okay, so you're asking us, can share about Google can continue to hold. All right, so let me just switch up my chart here. Google, I think GOOGL, not GOG. So this could be a difference in price when you guys are actually looking at the stocks. All right, so I'm covering GOGL. I think what we have right here, Jessica, if you're still with us this morning, maybe just drop a little bit of context that you have in whether you are holding, whether you are what price have you bought, because you say can hold, you're looking to sell, you're looking to add on. I don't know what is your plan. All right, so for now, let's see for Google GOOGL Alphabet Inc. We have firstly we can see here their longer term moving averages first. Always focus on the longer term moving averages first. What does it look like? There are 100 days, 200 days, red and blue line. The red and blue line, it is currently still pointing up. All right, it's still currently pointing up. So that's a good sign. All right, that's the first layer of confirmation that you can potentially get. All right, the longer term trend, yes, is currently pointing up. Yeah, playing a little bit of catch up with the prices, but nonetheless, still pointing up. We see a little bit of a step up phase. All right, so we have that 1GT bullish signal appearing on the 22nd of August. All right, on the 22nd of August, we see prices very swiftly gap up above that 210 level, subsequently breaking that 240 level as well. All right, in a matter of days, maybe 1 week plus, it eventually broke that 240 level, finding a new support. All right, so it's a little bit like a step up. So it consolidated for a little bit right here for about a month or so before we see another bullish move up, breaking that 270 level. Then consolidating for about 2 to 3 weeks again, and we are seeing where we are currently at. Prices broke above that 300 psychological level. So that's a matter of months that prices have moved more than 30% already. All right, so we are seeing a little bit of a consolidation, right, Jessica? We are seeing a little bit of consolidation. If you are saying that it is falling, I don't think that it is falling just yet. It's nothing surprising, right? Because as you can see, the previous price movements of Google actually show that a little bit of consolidation over a prolonged period for maybe about 3 weeks to maybe about 2 months. Very normal for them, in fact, we like to see this kind of consolidation move before prices push higher. Why is that the case? Is because if prices were to consolidate and fall, at least there is a lower consolidation zone that prices could, or buyers could potentially come in. If prices just hit higher and higher and higher, once it fall, it could trigger what we call like a panic selling in the market, where actually prices can fall even lower due to that selling pressure as well. All right, so I think right now we are still pretty much kept under that immediate 320 resistance level. All right, it's been testing it for a few days already. I'm just change this to red. Right here, it's been testing it for a few days already, pretty much not able to break above this level just yet. All right, but with that 20 days moving average currently pointing up, any bullish price actions above this, breaking above this 320 level, could send prices higher towards that 340 level, right? That 340 level, another 6% upside, 5 to 6% upside. So if you are looking to accumulate, all right, if you're looking to accumulate, some of you may be looking to accumulate Google. I think a potential area for accumulation could be close to that 300 level. All right, maybe that 300 to maybe 305 support area, buy zone, what we like to call it, could be a level that you want to maybe set up some alerts. But if I'm not too sure if prices, will go and deep down towards that 302 for you to buy more. But if it dips towards the level, it could open up a window of opportunity for you to get in as well. However, Jessica, I think the level you want to watch out for is also this 300 level. Maybe if this 300 level is broken, then you want to be a little bit more careful, because I'm not too sure where you bought. If you have bought quite so you bought at 320, up to 4 decimal place, 3209538. Okay, so 320. So I think there's been maybe a couple of days ago, or maybe just last week, right? Just last week, I think right now it's still not too bad. I think that is just maybe about 2% up and down move for you. So I think not too bad. I think you just want to monitor that 300 level. If that 300 level continues to hold, I think you're still pretty much in a good position. Of course, I would much rather you buy closer to a support rather than a resistance, because you bought at 320. I think that is a little bit more aggressive. So you want to be a little bit more careful and be aware of that downside as well. All right. So I think for some of you who want to accumulate, on a breakout, you want to see a confirmation. You want to see a confirmation that 320 level is now an immediate support. I mean, there were a couple of days that it tried to hold above, right? It tried to hold above, but it looks like right there is a rather indecisive day. It's a little bit of an indecisive day. There's a doji candlestick right there, a little bit of indecisiveness in the market, and then it was not able to hold. All right. So I think a couple of alerts, Jessica, to set up would be above that 320 level, just to get yourself aware that, we can see a potential up move towards 340 again. Otherwise, below that 300 level is something you may potentially want to look out for as well. All right. So I have just quickly turned on that trailing support as well. We can see the trailing support is about that 289 level. So for those of you guys who have maybe previously bought, when you saw that prices have broken out, a little bit of a consolidation phase, you are sitting on a little bit of profits for Google. What you can do as well will be to set your stop limit orders under that 289 level, maybe 1 to 2% under that 289 trailing support level. So if prices were to see weakness breaking below 300, breaking below that trailing support as well, that is where you can potentially consider an exit with profits still. All right, so that is for Google. So far, I think still looking good. Just have some alerts being set up. All right, so now I'll pass the time to Z to cover the next stock for you guys.
All right, thanks, Bhavin. Okay, so let me just share my screen. Okay, so I think the next stock would be, let me just cover Oracle right quickly, right, by Miguel, one of the first who actually posted a comments today, this morning. Thanks for being early, right? Okay, so maybe let's take a look at Oracle, because I think Oracle is also has just recently, released their earnings a few days back, right? And I think this is where a lot of volatility happened and people are actually also keen in Oracle, right? So just a quick search, I saw that, based on Oracle, the stock price actually plunged, right, because they actually missed the analyst estimates as well, and also they are probably taking on more debt due to all the AI and cloud infrastructures and things like that. So that could be one of the concerns, right, that investors could potentially have for this counter as well. But for us, because for our team's forte, right, we always look at the chart, right? Because always it boils back down to the chart, and we believe that the chart and the price will reflect what the current market sentiment is, right? So technically speaking, when we look at Oracle at this point in time, right, as of last night, we see that price actually closed at 189.85, right over here, right? And right over here, usually the first thing that we always look at would be based on the trends, right? And when we look at trends, we focus on three things, right? Which is the moving average, the three moving averages that you can see here: the green line, the red line, and the blue line. Right, so the green line represents short-term moving average, and it is very clearly, if I were to zoom in, right, it is indeed pointing down, right? You can see it's pointing down, pointing down, pointing down, and it has crossed below the blue line, which is the 200 days moving average. Not so good, right? And red line, it was going up, right? June going up all the way, November going up, then it was flattening out, and now it's kind of like sloping down slightly, right? Also not that great. Blue, it is just going up, and it is also flattening out, right? So generally, we know that at this point in time, the long-term and the short-term trend don't really align, right? Because when we think about buying into any stock, we want to think about buying into stocks that the trend in terms of the short-term and long-term are all heading in the same direction. Because in that sense, if you are buying into a stock that the uptrend is firm, the probability of a winning trade is higher, right? Because you are on the right side, right? The trend is your friend, right? We don't want to go against the trend. Okay, so based on this, we know that first thing first, the trend, short-term, long-term, don't really align, right? Secondly, I've already turned on what we call the 1GT buy and sell signal on the chart. You see with a click of a button, turn on and turn off, right? So with this button, this is already turned on, and what we can see is that there is not one, but 1, 2, 3. 3 consecutive 1 GT bearish signal that is appearing, right? So for those of you guys who are new here, when we see a 1 GT bearish signal, right, it doesn't mean that the stock will crash, right? It doesn't mean that, wow, the stock will go back to zero or even like a few dollars, right? No, it doesn't mean that. It just means that there is more selling pressure returning to this counter. And when you have multiples, 1 GT bearish signal coming out, plus the fact is that you know that a short-term weakness, right? Long-term, not that great. That is when you want to think about, either getting out or reducing some exposure, right? Because we don't want to be sitting on unrealized losses. So it just telling you that, hey, perhaps there's something that needs to be done, especially so if you're holding on to a stock when you bought at a high or things like that. Okay, so it gives you an indication of what potentially you can do, right? So on top of that, we don't just purely based on the signals to take an action, right? We got to look at the entire picture. We got to look at, so where are price now with relevance to the support and the resistance. So based on the chart, I don't have to zoom too far back, right? Maybe just the last quarter of 2024 to where we are at, we can very clearly see that this level, right, $200 is a psychological level that definitely we should note, right? As of yesterday, price closed at 198, right? It has not break 200. It is below the 200. So 200, I would say, would be a resistance, an immediate resistance that price is currently testing right now, right? And previously, back in the last quarter of 2024, this was price also testing near the 200, right? Near the 200, didn't manage to break above. Same thing happened in January, somewhere in January, and eventually somewhere in June this year, it eventually broke above it and managed to hold above these 200, turning from what we call 200 resistance to become a support, right? From June onwards, all the way to where we are at now. So earnings results came out, prices dipped, and now it is holding below 200. So 200 is an immediate resistance, right? So I think the thing now is that because price is still holding below the $200 level, right? I think what to watch for would be for prices to see whether over the next couple of days or even weeks, if prices is actually able to recapture these 200 and turning it to a support level once again, right? And of course, the other thing to watch for would be, for the 20 days moving average, right, to actually stop pointing down, because now it's still pointing down, right? For it to actually flatten out, if prices can cross above the 200, recapture it as a support, and we see that the 20 days moving average starts to flatten out, that is a good sign that there could be short-term stabilization, because right now we could still be expecting more volatility, especially so with a price gap down and 3 consecutive 1 GT bullish signal plus 20 days moving average is pointing down. Okay, so in terms of Miguel, right, I don't know whether you are thinking about buying or selling, or you're already holding on to the stock, right? But for some of you guys who are thinking, hey, this could be pretty cheap now compared to September, October, when prices was trading at 320, right? We don't want to buy a stock just because it is cheap, right? We want to make sure that a stock is stable and is holding above certain support level, and we know that buying pressure is present before thinking about taking any action. So some of the confirmations, like I've mentioned, to watch out for would be prices holding above 200, turning it to become a support, 20 days moving average flattening out, and even better is if we are actually able to see another 1 GT bullish signal coming out to give you another layer of confirmation that perhaps there could be some return strength for this counter, because at this point in time it just seems like there is more weakness returning, and if prices is unable to break back above the 200, right, potentially what we could see would be something like this again, whereby price could be trading within a range, right? And the range would be from the $140 to perhaps the $200, which is this range right over here, right? So to the 140 would be the next support that you want to look out for. All right. So Miguel said that, holding on, thinking about buying some more. Yeah, okay. I think holding on, thinking about buying some more, but you think about buying some more when the opportunity is right, and when you see more confirmation that the short term, right, is no longer continuing going down, like it is no longer weak in the short term, because right now we are still seeing some short-term weakness for this particular counter, right? And potential upside target, immediate upside target that we are looking at, if prices is able to recapture the 200, I think the immediate resistance that we are looking at is around 260 right over here. This was where we started to see selling pressure returning, and especially you can see candlesticks like this with long upper shadow indicates that selling pressure is actually present in this area. All right, so for Miguel, I think at this point in time, I think it will be good for you to practice some patience and monitor first, to see for short-term long-term stabilization before taking any further action, right? Because you don't want to be caught in a situation whereby you buy and then the stock continue to go down further because of short-term weakness, and then you buy some more, and then that's when, you know, it could be a situation whereby you're sitting on huge unrealized losses lah. Okay, so I hope that gives you something to think about and some of the levels to take note for Oracle as well. And I think because today is Jiayi's actually first time, right? Maybe I'll pass the time back over to Bervin, right? And we do like Bervin me, then we go to Jiayi, right? Then maybe we'll let Jiayi like ease his way into our AMA session. Okay, so maybe now I'll pass the time back over to Bervin to cover the next stop.
All right. Okay. So I do one more. Then after that, pass back to Z lah. Okay, Ken. Here we go. Let's see. Kunaf. Hey, hi, Kunaf. Good morning. Good morning. So I bought Amazon at 180 and holding. After reaching a peak, price came down. Wholesale or add further? All right, great question there. Let me just throw it up onto the screen right here. Okay, so we have Amazon on the screen right now. Yeah, I think when you're talking about prices went up to a peak, it went as high as very close to that 260 resistance. For sure, that was after earnings came in, was quite good. But I think the disappointing thing is after holding for about more than 1.5 weeks, it wasn't able to, find a support. I wasn't able to find a support. That gap up was, I think, eventually closed, and we are right back to where we were in July again, where the immediate support is right around that 210 level. So that's a little bit disappointing, coming back into a consolidation zone. All right. So, but I guess it answers the question on why you want prices to consolidate. All right. Look, so when prices fall, they are able to find a support because of that prolonged consolidations. We have buyers that are somewhat keen to re-enter at a lower price. All right. So you can see that multiple times buyers have entered close to that 210 level, 210 one more time in August, 210 one more time in October, and I think most recently 210 one more time in November. All right, so I think this is right around where that 200 days moving average is at currently. All right, so I think this is a level that most buyers would look to get in, right? Look to buy. But I think we need to practice a little bit of caution as well, because we see that the 20 days moving average is currently pointing down. All right, you want to try to get in when you see the additional nearer term momentum as well. Like you see right here, when it starts to slope up a little bit more, yes, you got to buy a little bit more expensive, but I think that is where you get the additional confirmation. But right now, that the 20 days moving average is currently pointing down, and it is currently what I would like to call in no man's land. It's not above a new support. All right, it's not above this 240. There's no longer a breakout trade in place. You're not close to the immediate support as well. Right, it's not close to it as well. So your risk to reward right there may not be the best. All right, so let me just do it like that very quickly. Risk to reward from the current price to the resistance, maybe about 4%, right? But your downside, if it breaks below that immediate 210 support, could be around 10% if the support level doesn't hold. So the risk to reward doesn't justify buying at the current price. Right? It doesn't justify for you to buy at the current price. I think we're looking to do a little bit of range trading. Let's monitor if we are able to see sellers once again coming in close to that 240 level, and then prices start to taper downwards. I mean, I'm not too sure if this will happen, but if it does, I think that is potentially a good level to actually watch out for. All right, you see a little bit of a consolidation going on close to that level, and then prices, it's very similar to what happened in October, and prices start to hit up a little bit higher with that 20 days moving average starting to slope up again. I think that is where you can participate in a little bit of a range trading, range trade towards that 240 level. I think just to maybe help you to alleviate a little bit of your cost, because you say you bought previously at 180 already, and then right now you are thinking that if you are seeing a little bit of consolidation, what should you do? All right, so you're sitting on a little bit of profits. I mean, 180 to 210, $30, about $30 profit for each stock if prices hit back towards that level. All right, so by participating in a little bit of range trading, you could start to bring that average cost price of 180 down even more. But in order to do that, what must you do? you must be willing to sell that position, some of those positions that you have bought at 210, close to that 240 resistance level. I mean, locking in a little bit of profits there, and eventually, if you are intending to actually hold on to Amazon for a longer period of time, I would say right now it's still fine. All right, we still have that 100 days, 200 days moving average. 100 days pointing up a little bit, 200 days a little bit flat. All right, so if you're holding on for a longer period of time, it's okay, but you have to understand that you may enter a longer term consolidation. But it doesn't mean that you're holding on to something for a long period of time. You don't care about losses, right? You don't care about losses. So what you want to do is perhaps you want to set up some alerts under that 210 level as well. So if that 210 consolidation level, which he has held above since June, is not able to hold, perhaps you could consider to reduce some exposure for this counter as well, for your Amazon holdings as well. So that way you are better able to reallocate those funds, just to avoid some opportunity cost at the same time while you are holding. And then when prices stabilize again, I think that's when you can potentially enter once more. All right, so but what is the upside? What is the upside if that 240 level gives way, prices recapture that 240 level, acts as a new base as well? I think we can see a higher consolidation phase towards that 260 level. I mean, that's ideally what we want to see as well. But in the nearer term, I think the selling pressure is still present, demonstrated by that 20 days moving average. All right, Kunaf. So I think right now, I think for Amazon, it's a wait and see situation, not definitely buy, not a buy, immediate buy situation. All right, so I think you can continue to hold as long as 210 support continues to hold up. You can consider to add if you see a little bit of consolidation near 210 with that 20 days moving average starting to slope up slightly. I mean, even better if we can see a 1GT bullish signal. But right now, we see a 1GT bearish signal. So just be a little bit more careful for selling pressure as well. Okay, so that is a very quick one for Amazon. And now I'll pass the time to Z to cover the next stock.
All right, thanks, Mervin. Okay, so the next stock that I have over here would be by Amy. Amy, hi, morning, Amy. Interested in J&J and Dollar General Corporation. Could you advise what would be a good price to enter? Okay, so maybe I'll just cover the first one, which is J&J first, right? Which is Johnson & Johnson. Okay, so let's take a look at this stock together, right? So when I first glance at this stock, you say that you are thinking about buying, right? I'm very glad, right? Why? Because at least now you're thinking about buying into a stock that is already in an uptrend, right? Because ideally, this is what we want to see in terms of the moving average when we are thinking about buying into a stock. Green, above the red, above the blue, and all three of them are actually pointing up, right? So good, right? Because some clients, right, or sometimes it could be a mindset issue, right? But people, when they look back, like maybe last year, then they see that, hey, price is actually at $160, but now price is at 210. Then they don't want to buy because they feel that the price is actually more expensive, right? I mean, of course, they could buy 160, that would be even better, right? But we cannot turn back time to buy 160, right? If the stock is still good and you continue and the stock continue to move up, right? Sometimes it's okay to actually buy at higher prices as well, right? You don't have to be fixated on buying back like the at the same price like 2 to 3 years ago, right? Because sometimes we cannot buy back at that old price anymore, right? So the thing is sometimes it got to do with mindset as well, right? You must be okay and be willing to buy at higher prices, especially so if we know that the uptrend is still strong and is still firm. Okay, so I'm very glad, Amy, that you are saying that you are thinking about buying into this stock. And when we look at this stock, right, this stock actually is still great in terms of the uptrend, right? So uptrend definitely still intact, right? And opposite from just now the stock that I was talking about for Oracle, right? Oracle got 3 1GT bearish signal, but this one we got 1, 2, 3 1GT bullish signal. Right, great, right? That gives you a second confirmation already, right? Then moving on, moving on, right? We look at the support and the resistance as well, because now you know that, hey, this stock not too bad. This stock gives me 1GT bullish signal, trend is uptrend. Okay, I want to think about buying, right? But we don't want to buy anyhow buy, right? We also want to think about buying at the right time near where? Near the support zone, right? So based on this, we need to know where is potentially the support and the resistance, where are buyers coming back in, where are sellers potentially taking profits, right? So we don't want to buy, we try not to buy in a resistance zone, because that could be a situation whereby you buy near the high and then prices starts to come back down. Then every time you say, I buy already, the stock immediately come back down, right? Perhaps that's the reason why it happens is because maybe you are buying near resistance zone, right? So that's why we try to time our entry and look for potential support zone to position ourselves, right? So based on Johnson & Johnson, we can see that I think one of the support level, right, will be somewhere close to this 195. And by the way, support and resistance level, right, just to share with you guys, it is not a specific point, okay? We always talk about it as like a zone. We always must think about it as a zone, because the levels that maybe I draw, Bervin draw, Jia draw, or even Joey draw, all of us could be different points, right? The points could be different, but it will always be around the same area. So it's always a zone that we are looking at, okay? So in terms of the support for J&J, I would have say somewhere around this 195. So I would think that this would be one of the support zone that we could ideally be looking at as well, right? And why would I say 195? You know, this level is like one of the support, because this level, as you can see back in October to November, this period, right? This 1 month period, price actually went all the way up near this 195, unable to break above it, came down. So back then it was a resistance, right? Price was testing this level as a resistance, right? It pulled back, moved sideways for a bit, went up, and eventually broke above this level. So I would say that this level has turned from what we call a resistance to become a support. So now we know that, okay, around 195, this is the support, right? This could be a support zone that we are looking at. Great. Then what about resistance? Resistance, we continue to see price hit all the way up, right? Towards where? Towards this 210, this level right over here. So somewhere in November, end of November, prices hit up towards 210 near it. Same thing, unable to break above, selling pressure came in, profit taking happened, prices pulled back, right? But it didn't go back all the way to the support zone, right? Buyers came in even earlier. They are willing to come back in and buy at higher prices near where? Near these $200, right? So potentially, could 200 be a new higher support? Potentially, right? If prices were to test it a few more times and we know that buyers really come back 200, then definitely our support could increase from 195, that zone, to perhaps around the $200 psychological level, right? But now, I'm not sure yet, right? Because it's only one time, right? It's only one time. But we do know that 210, there is selling pressure returning, right? Based on this, and also just based on yesterday's candlestick, right? Even though yesterday's candlestick is pretty bullish, right? It's green. But what we are seeing is a long upper shadow, right? If I were to zoom in, can you guys see over here that there is a long upper shadow on the candlestick? And when this usually happens, right, and when it happens near resistance zones, it just indicates and tell you that selling pressure is present, because at some point in time during the trading session, price went all the way up to the high, right? But somewhere middle of the trading session or towards the end, just as long as during the trading session itself, selling pressure come in to push price all the way back down. That is why it resulted in a long upper shadow that we see on the candlestick, right? So that is where we know that, it gives you a story about what actually happened during the trading day. And we know that there is selling pressure present. And when it happens at a resistance, I would not be surprised, right? Because resistance is usually where people actually take profits, okay? Then now we know that, I got a support, I got a resistance, right? So now with that, we know that, okay, where can we potentially position ourselves for entry and set some price alerts, right? So like we've mentioned, support zone would be around 194, 105. This would be one of the support level, right? So this is where we can actually set some price alert as well. So maybe let me just set it together, right? With Amy, if you're still here, we can actually set it together. Right click, add alert. And this is where I can set the price alert, right? Maybe I can put 196, right? 196. Great. Right, and right over here, I created a price alert at 196. So if prices were to retrace back to this 196, I'll be alerted, and I can actually take action if prices still is able to hold above this support zone, right? And this support zone is still actually valid, right? So then resistance, this is where, profit taking, actually, we know that it happened, right? This is where you can also set alert, right? To alert you that if prices actually go back to that level, right? Then this is where you can actually take profits if you have already gotten into a position, or perhaps some of you guys are already holding since the first 1GT bullish signal actually came out. So now we know the support and the resistance, right? we want to know like, is there any potential upside targets that we are also looking at, right? Because now price is indeed testing the 210 resistance. And if price is actually able to break and hold above this 200, right, I think potential upside target we are looking towards will be around the 220. And then you might be asking, why 220, right? Because 220, it is one of a psychological level to take note. And if you have to look back, right, I think this stock is definitely, as you can see, is at an all-time high, right? So when prices is actually at an all-time high, how do we actually gauge, like, where can the potential targets be, right? Definitely, number one, we can use a psychological level, because psychological levels are usually levels whereby people are comfortable with and they potentially want to buy or sell, at that level. So that levels usually are those that people place their orders at, right? So psychological level, that's one. And then number two is that if you use a projection, right? So and we project it up, you can see that it's roughly around this 220 as well. So like I mentioned, it's not a point, right? It's always a zone. So it's near this 220 as well. So that's the reason why, the projection target, right? If price is able to break and hold above 210, then I think the next upside targets that we are actually looking at would be towards this 220. But overall, I think for Johnson & Johnson definitely is still looking great. Bullish, is pretty bullish, right? Because of the 1GT bullish signal that we see. Uptrend is still intact and prices is indeed testing the resistance at 210. And if you're a bit more aggressive and if 210 is able to hold, right, apart from taking, a price retracement strategy like so when prices come back, then you enter, right? The other way is you can actually buy upon a breakout, right? Whereby price break above the 210 become a new higher support. Then that's when you can also take some action. But of course, when you are doing so by trading with a breakout strategy, that inherently carry on more risk lah. So be it a breakout strategy or be it a pullback strategy, either way, always think about your downside management, like your risk management, right? Think about your stop loss as well. If prices were to reverse, what's your stop loss, right? So that is a very key and important thing. But I mean, today we don't have time to really go through all the 7-point checklist and the trading plan and things like that. But if you guys are keen to know more about the strategy, right, and also this 1GT Pro indicator and the framework, right, maybe you guys can feel free to actually attend one of the upcoming webinar that is hosted by Joey, right? And I think this year we don't have it anymore. The next one, the upcoming one, will be in January, 6th of January. I think Bervin has helped me. Yeah, Bervin has kindly helped me to put the link in the chat already. So if you guys are keen and want to learn more about this, right? How do we actually filter out top stocks? What are the checklists that we use? What are the things that we monitor? And the framework behind this whole strategy. Feel free to actually attend the upcoming webinar on 6th of January. By the way, it's free. It's free. Don't have to pay for anything. It's free to attend. And by attending, hopefully you'll be able to gain some value out of this. All right. So yeah, without further ado, I think now I'll pass the time over to Jia Yi, who will actually be covering his first stock for today.
Okay, thank you, Z. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, hopefully you guys can see my screen now. Okay, I see some of you guys are asking about Micron. I think I saw Rika asking about MU. Is it a good opportunity to enter now, especially they are going to report their earnings soon? And also, I think I saw just now, John is also asking about MU as well. What is the next resistance since there's a 1GT bullish signal that has appeared lah. So it seems like John might have the access to the 1GT signal already, because you can see that there's a 1GT bullish signal. So just based on the chart wise, we just look at the Micron as overview. Micron overall, based on the long term and the mid term wise, you see that the 100 days and the 200 days moving, which is the blue line and also the red line, are actually pointing up. So it's a good sign that in terms of the long run wise, the strength is still there. But recently, in November, you see that actually there was a 1GT bearish signal that appeared. There was a selling pressure, which caused the price to move back down to near the 200 support level. And previously, I draw my resistance near the 250 lah. So you can see that actually recently, just 2 days back, or actually around 2 days back, prices actually broke above this 250 and was able to stay above this 250 support level. Resistance actually now turns support level. So we can see that now there's a new support level at 250. So I would say that it's best to see whether the price is able to stay above this 250 new support level. And if prices are able to stay above this new support level, just based on a simple projection, previously based on the 200 to the 250 level, if we were just to project upwards, we might see that the next resistance level is actually near that 300 psychological resistance level. So I would say that based on the chart wise, now there's a 1GT bullish signal. That's a good sign as well. And also overall, the 100 days, 200 days, and also the 20 days short term wise is actually starting to point up. So with this new support level, 250, we can see that actually the next resistance level might be near the 300 resistance, psychological resistance level. So hopefully that answers, John, your question where's the next resistance level. So regarding Rika, asking about, is this a good opportunity to enter now, especially they are gonna report their earnings soon. So we can see that their earnings report is actually next Wednesday. So it's actually very soon, just in within a week time. I would say if it depends on your risk appetite actually. So that when report earnings, we wouldn't know whether they're going to report the earnings to be good or bad. So we never know whether how the price will move after they report the earnings. So I would say that now you see that there's a support around that 250 level. If you want to take the risk, you want to see where you are thinking that the price might go up after their earnings, you can buy near the support level, which is the 250. And if earnings came out to be good, it might continue to go up. But if prices were to come down after their earnings, if they don't report a good earnings, you might want to do a stop loss below the 250 support level. So I would say if you want, you can enter now near the support level, but do make sure to have a stop loss plan in mind if prices were to come down after their earnings. Now, hopefully this answer your questions as well. Yeah, if not, I'll pass my time back to Bervin.
All right, thanks, Jai. Okay, great one there. Let's just see for the next one. I just saw somebody was asking. Edward here. All right, so Edward, I bought keys at 155. All right, keys at 155, and then should I continue to buy more or to sell now? All right, so just let's see what Keysight Technologies is doing. It looks like it is an IT infotech company as well. I think it specializes in equipment. All right, okay, I haven't heard of this counter. I never followed this counter as well. So I think from what I'm seeing right now, I mean, definitely you bought at 155, 214. Currently, yeah, they're saying at 214. You are sitting on quite a healthy profit, right? So 155, I would assume maybe you saw a 1GT bullish signal right there, then you buy maybe like that. 40%. That's a 40% profits that you are currently already sitting on. And I like the second part. Should I continue to buy or sell now? All right. So why I like the second part is it is obviously a counter that have just broken out, right? Broke above that 185 resistance right there. Tested once, tested twice. On the third try, I would say on earnings day itself, it broke up and it even broke above that psychological 200 level for sure. All right, so I think right now, if you're looking to buy, great, you are in a good position, in fact, to buy because there are confirmations. All right, let's take a closer look at the confirmations. We have the 100 days moving average red line pointing up. Great. 200 days moving average started to slope up already. Great. After that prolonged consolidation, it started to slope up a little bit more. Good. Next, I think near-term momentum definitely still there, reflected by the price and also reflected by the 20 days moving average. Great. So there's three signs or two signs, I would say, longer-term trend, shorter-term trend, still intact. And we are currently maybe forming a higher support around that psychological 200 level. But here's the thing, if we just do a projection from the resistance to that psychological support, right, Edward, and then that 200 to the immediate resistance, do we see that we are very, very close to a resistance? We could potentially be meeting sellers very soon. So if you're thinking to buy more now, I would say, would you be okay to buy maybe slightly more expensive? We see a breakout above that 215 level, maybe 216, 217. Slightly more expensive, but maybe you are buying above a support rather than trying to position yourself to ride the trend, which is fine, but you're buying close to a resistance and you may see some sellers start to come in and then prices start to consolidate between that 200 to that 215 range. All right, so maybe you want to be a little bit more aggressive. I would say the trend is still looking good, just maybe what is the entry level you are actually looking for. So I think firstly, let's set up some alerts above 215. Just right click, set up alert, maybe 216, 217. I'll put 216 right there. Then you have an alert being set up already. All right, so we still got 3 1GT bullish signals, which is very looks like it's quite consecutive. 1, 2, 3. Then prices started to move very quickly after rebounding from that 170 support. All right, so I think so far it looks like for Keysight, if you want to sell, on the other hand, you are very close to a resistance as well. So if you are looking to sell, in fact, now could be the time for you to maybe lock up some profits, right? To lock up some profits. So it's completely okay one. It's completely okay. I think you heard Joey said multiple times. You heard Z said multiple times as well. Completely normal, completely okay to take some profits. The keyword is some profits close to the resistance. Why some? Is because you want to have continued exposure. Continued exposure in the sense where, because we are currently holding above multiple supports, all right, I bet there's not much consolidation going on with your key support right around the psychological 200 level. Trend is still looking good. It's just maybe waiting for a little bit of a breakout. You could be sitting on a longer term consolidation phase. But if you take some profits and prices retrace, right? Prices retrace back towards that 200 level, maybe 200, 205. Maybe that is when you can potentially reposition yourself for an entry again. And then if you only sell some and if it doesn't come back to that 200 level and it hits higher, then that is where you can potentially continue to ride the trend, right? So far, I think it still looks good, but let's turn on that trailing support right now. We can see that the trailing support is under that 200 level, about 195. So if you are looking for a longer term, or you are okay to place your stop loss or your stop limit order slightly lower than that 195, 1 to 2% below, I think it's just fine. You could potentially just lock up your profits from that 155 that you have bought all the way to here. That's a 24% profit that you can potentially lock up first. Lock up in a sense where you're not immediately selling. You're just placing your stop limit orders right there first. And if prices continue to move up, you move your stop limit orders up alongside or underneath that trailing support. This way, yes, you are taking a little bit more risk. You're holding on to the position, but you are locking up some profits with lesser risk. I would say lesser risk. All right, so I think Keysight Technologies still looking good. Edward, I think if you want to buy, I think set up some alerts above that 216, 217 if you're okay to buy a little bit more expensive. Alternatively, you can wait for prices to retrace towards that $200 level. Or if you want to sell, you are currently within the sell zone itself if you want to take some profits. All right, so I think that is for Keysight Technologies. I'll pass the time now to Z to cover the next stock.
All right, thanks, Bhavin. Awesome. Okay, let's move on to the next stock. Then the stock that I have over here, right, would be by N, right? N is asking about WDC, Western Digital, looking to buy, but no buying volume, a bit strength, stock going up. Oh, I think, I think what I understand from you is that you are thinking about buying, and you think that maybe there's not enough volume, but then the stock is actually still going up, right? Okay, so maybe, right, we also seek some opinion, right, from 154 of you guys over here, right? So now that I have Western Digital that is on the screen, right, what do y'all think about the trend? Maybe y'all can let me know, to make this a bit more interactive for you guys as well. If you guys think the trend is good, uptrend, type a G or U. If you think that, the trend not so good, then you can type a downtrend or like bad or like sideways. Let me know. What do you guys think? Like for Western Digital, is it what do y'all think positively about this stock, or maybe not so good? Let me know. Let me know what do you guys think. Let me see. Edward say uptrend. Ivan, buy. Victor G, good. Good. Okay. Yeah, so I would actually agree with all of you guys here, right? Good uptrend, hot AI. Yeah, I'll agree with you guys here that the uptrend, right, for WDC definitely is still looking great, right? I have no issues with the uptrend. The moving averages are looking beautiful, right? Usually, like when I see stocks that are moving in this direction and all the moving averages are going up really nicely, right? Oh, it's a very beautiful chart, right? And previously, if you were to look back in 2024, actually, if you were to compare now, you said now no volume, you compare to in the past back in 2024, actually it's even worse, because 2024 you can see that most of the time it is kind of like just generally moving sideways, but it was at only this year because of the AI and also all the tech related the stocks, right? Then we started to see more interest returning to WDC, right? And that's where we start to see price actually moves much more, right? And definitely much more volatile as well if you compare the candlesticks now to the candlesticks that is happening in the past, right? So for WDC at this point in time, uptrend no issue, right? And we got two 1GT bullish signal. So I'm just curious. Let me just see from the first 1GT bullish signal to where we are at yesterday. This is what? 389%. Right? 389%. There is still no bearish signal yet. Right? So two bullish signals are still playing out. Prices is still going higher. Uptrend is still strong. Right? So let's take a look at what are some of the levels that potentially we can position ourselves for entry or set some alerts. Right? Especially so that we know that this stock not too bad. That's when maybe we want to think about positioning ourselves. Right? Like what N is thinking. Right? So for WDC as of yesterday, it closed at, let's see, 178.20, right? And I've drawn a level here, right? And I changed it to a green color. Previously, it was like that. Previously, it was red. Why was it red? Because previously, it was actually a resistance, right? Prices tested this 180. Long upper shadow. Selling pressure is present. Price pullback. Rebounded and retested it again, and eventually yesterday it actually managed to close above this 180. So this 180, I've changed it to a green because it has turned from a resistance to become a support, right? So we know that this is actually one of the newest or immediate support, right, that potentially we could be looking at, right? But of course we also want to take note of where's the next the past support, right? Where's the previous support that we also need to monitor, right? So the previous support, as you can see, I've drawn here around 140, right? So same thing, 140 previously here was testing as a resistance. Price broke above it with a 1GT bullish signal, right? Went up to test this 180 resistance, came back down, rebounded from this 140, right? This was where buying pressure came back in. So you see, this candlestick, right, here and this candlestick here, it looks opposite one, right? One is with a long upper shadow, one is with a long lower shadow, right? So generally, when we want to see at the support level, is there buying pressure coming back in? We want to look for candlesticks with long lower shadow because that means that the buyers really come back, push the price back up, right? That is why during the trading session, right, you can see that there's this long lower shadow being formed because buyers are willing to come back, step in and buy at higher prices, and it goes all the way back up, right? But on the other hand, at the resistance, that is where selling pressure come in, push price back down, we got a long upper shadow. So these two are different, and this is ideally what we want to see in both of the zones, support zone and resistance zone, right? But of course, this is the previous support 140, right? But now the support from 140 has went up to, and it became higher. We found a new higher support at around 180 based on the breakout yesterday, right? Based on the breakout yesterday. So based on this, we know that the price actually broke out yesterday, right? And this is a new higher support that is being found. And when we think about buying in a stock, like I've mentioned many times, you want to think about buying near a support zone. So this is what we call a new support zone, right? Agree? This is a new support. Of course, here, it is also a support, right? This is also a valid support. Nothing wrong, right? Nothing wrong. But now the question is, if you're thinking about buying, of course, everybody, like what Jia Yi mentioned earlier on, got different risk appetite. Some of you guys might be more aggressive. Some maybe might be a bit more risk adverse, right? Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. To each his own, right? So if you are thinking about getting into WDC, right now when price break out above, right? Of course, I think best is if let's say today, tomorrow, a couple of days later, we are still able to see price able to hold above this new higher support at 180. Great. This is where we can potentially position ourselves for entry, and it is also known as a breakout strategy, right? Like what I mentioned earlier on, right? But Of course, for those of you who are a bit more risk adverse, right, then maybe a breakout strategy might not be for you, right? Because breakout strategy inherently carry on more risk. So now price is testing, right? I would say that yes, today it broke. Yesterday it broke above 180. But if you ask me whether tonight can it hold above 180, I don't know. Whether Monday can it hold above 180, I don't know. It could potentially just be testing. It could maybe be fluctuating around this 180, right? And it could also retrace back down to retest the support at 140, right? So that could also be a potential that could happen. That could be a potential scenario, right? So some of you guys could also potentially set price alert near the 140 support. So maybe at 145, 146, 147, as well as maybe setting alert at 183, 184, 185. So there could be two zones that you are setting alert on to notify you as to when to actually take a look at the stock again, right? So if prices unable to break above the 180 test and come back down, right? Then this could be what we are looking at, right? Support zone and the resistance zone at this level. Okay, make sense? Following so far? Okay, so then if prices are actually able to break and hold the 180 the next couple of days or weeks, right? Then potential upside, where are we looking towards, right? So the question is just now, like what I mentioned, as price now definitely is at the all-time high, right? All-time high. And if we know that prices have been trading within a range for at least a couple of months, right? As you can see from November to December, right? This period, right? Right here, very simple, we do a projection up, right? And we can see that the next upside target that we are looking at would be around 220, right? And 220 is also a psychological level, okay? So this could be some of the levels that and perhaps you might want to take note of. And I'm not too sure of your risk appetite, right? It depends, right? Nothing wrong. If you are looking at 180, above 180, or you're looking for a pullback, it's up to you, right? You got to make sure that you are comfortable with the risk that you are taking. But either way, always, like I said, remember to have your stop loss plan in place. Okay, so that would be for WDC. Definitely still looking pretty good and pretty bullish. And also, I think definitely to monitor for these two support level as mentioned if you are thinking about positioning yourself for entry. Okay, so I think now I'll pass the time back over to Bhavin to cover the next stock.
All right, thanks Z. Oh, okay, so next one. Here we go. This is a very interesting question. What are opportunities for buy for Netflix or Paramount given prospective buying of Warner Brothers? Oh, I think this has been the talk of the week. Yeah, what was the outcome? Whether my Netflix subscription is it going to be more expensive next year or not? I think that is my biggest question. But so far, I think if you are looking at Netflix, Paramount, or Warner Brothers, typically during an acquisition, what's going on is you tend to see the shares of the acquirer, so in this case Netflix or Paramount, tend to trend lower. Why? They are taking on additional risk, right? They're going to be wiping some cash off their balance sheet. They're going to be wiping off some reserve shares of their on their balance sheet as well. So you tend to see them both trending lower. So this is Paramount, this is Netflix, but you tend to see the shares of the acquired Warner Brothers increase. So this is a very, very interesting dynamic. So if you're thinking about buying Netflix or Paramount, firstly, I think you have to understand that once the deal goes through, it may not be an immediate reversal or anything like that. But if you want to focus on the trend instead, how is the market taking it as of now? I think Netflix previously had done a stock split, 10-for-1 stock split. So I think that was actually in probably foreshadowing that they wanted to do something, and this is probably the deal that they wanted to go through with. So I think quite a lot of people thought that the stock split was a good thing, more liquidity in the market, can buy more, but it seems like prices have continued to slip lower. All right, Jeremy, it started to slip lower already for Netflix. All right, we see 1 GT bearish signal. All right, so maybe you guys, those of you who are still in the chat, if you guys are supporters of Netflix or you guys are holding Netflix, you think, should Jeremy buy Netflix now? All right, just looking at the trend itself. Should Jeremy buy Netflix now? Maybe if you say yes, buy, can type Y in the chat. If you say no, don't buy, type N in the chat. So maybe we can just see, is there a difference in opinion as well? JP says no. All right, JP says no. All right, ABC says no. Eric says no. Eric says no. Francis says no. Using trend only, no. Colin says wait. Alex says wait. All right, okay, so we have a general, more or less a general consensus that if you're just looking purely at the trend, you're just looking purely at the trend, definitely it is a no. Right, there's a no. I think across the board, not many people want to buy. Okay, so I think we have several key support levels that were broken over the past few months. All right, so we previously saw that there was a consolidation phase. There was a consolidation phase between the 115 to the 125 level, maybe about 130 level as well. See some buyers coming in closer to that level. All right, so I think that was, if you have bought previously at that level, I say, yeah, nothing wrong to buy at that level. But in fact, if you see a 1GT bullish signal here, all of the moving average pointing up, you want to get in, yeah, great. All right, but once you start to see weakness starting to form, right here, I think on the 30th of September, that's when we actually start to see weakness forming. That 20 days started to point down. That 100 days moving average, just zoom in for you guys a little bit, started to flatten out. All right, across the next few weeks, we start to see that 20 days moving average not finding any relief at all. That 100 days moving average started to flatten out even more, and then towards the end of October, it started to slow down. And then right now, we start to see that even that 200 days moving average is sloping down already. And it looks like weakness continues. The 100 days moving average could be looking to cross below that 200 days moving average. So I think we mentioned quite a few times of about bullish crossover. This is what we call a bearish crossover. All right, so I don't know whether will that happen or not, or if we can see a little bit of a support coming in for Netflix. But I think right on this day right here, on the 5th of December, when they announced their bid to buy Warner Brothers, prices actually surged a little bit. All right, trying to take up or trying to recapture that $100 level, $100 support level. But you can see there is quite a little bit of sellers, quite a bearish candlestick that actually came in. Right, sellers actually started to push prices down as it tried to approach that 106 resistance, 105, 106 resistance. That's when we start to see sellers coming in once again, and then prices pretty much the next few days started to head down even lower. Right, so that immediate support right now is right around, let me just extend this line, the 85 psychological level. Right, the 85 psychological level, we could be heading back to where we were since at the beginning of 2025. All right, so we had a good run, definitely for Netflix. You're talking from since the start of January up to their peak was a 57%. All those was wiped in a matter of months. Right now, we're just up 9% since the start of the year already. Right, so definitely looks like a deep discount. Right, it looks like it's definitely cheap. But then here's the thing: cheap can become cheaper. So I think right now a little bit of waiting game could be in play as well. We don't want to rush to get in. I think it's okay to wait for a little bit of buyers to come in. It's okay to buy a little bit more expensive, but we want to at least firstly see this 20 days moving average not be so steep anymore. Maybe start to flatten out. Maybe take some time. Don't know how long it will take. And then maybe right there, maybe at the earnings period, they will give you some announcements. All right, I'm not too sure whether the bid to buy Warner Brothers will go through or not, but I hope by then there is some information there as well. And with prices starting to flatten out, you may start to see a little bit more bullish candlesticks even coming in. All right, prices recapturing that $100 psychological level. Right, that 100 days moving average. 100 days moving average maybe start to flatten out a little bit, hopefully holding above that 200 days moving average, then I think, yes, maybe potentially that could be a sign for a reversal play. Instead of buying on a discount, we will buy on the strength instead. Then I think that is possibly what you could actually watch out for. But those of you who are holding on to Netflix, I hope that you are already sold when we saw that 1GT bearish signal come in on towards the end of October. If not, if you have not sold, I hope you had sold the second time when they give you the chance to sell close to that resistance of 115. But if you are still holding up to now, maybe just a fair word of a warning. Averaging down can be a very dangerous thing. We do not know how low can the stock go. Right? So we all have limited capital. Don't deploy capital into something that is weaker than the general market. All right. So I think for now, I think Netflix, let's put it on hold first. I think, yeah, Jeremy, I think, yeah, I think you agree with everyone. Let's wait for more information, wait for a little bit more confirmation of that trend reversal as well. Maybe even perhaps wait for a new 1GT bullish signal to come in if that trailing resistance is breached. All right, so sometimes we can use that 1GT bearish signal as a sign, right? As a sign for profit taking potentially coming in. All right, so if you're holding on to some stocks, you start to see a few 1GT bearish signals start to come in already. Probably the trend is starting to turn. You may want to consider to adjust. What's your stop loss level? Is it approaching a stop loss level already? You want to take some profits? It could be still be possible. It could be still be protecting some profits. That's when you would like to start to do that as well. All right. So of course, this is the 1GT Pro indicator. So it comes with the trailing support, trailing resistance, even some horizontal support, some position sizing table. I mean, we'll not dive into that too much today, but I mean, if you would like to just have the signals, purely just the signals, just to get yourself the additional information or the additional heads up, the prices could be changing in momentum or the momentum could be continuing. I think Jolie has very kindly provided 14 days free trial for the 1GT light indicator, 1GT light. So what does the light have? It will only have the moving average and the indicator. And not the indicator, and the signals. So if you would like to try it out for 14 days, you can cancel it anytime. You can just click the link that I think Z has very nicely placed in the chat for us as well. All right, so this is for Netflix. Let's wait and see where does prices go and whether the 85 support will indeed be tested. All right, so now I think I'll pass the time back to Z one more time before we hand it over to Jia for his next talk.
Yeah, thanks, Bervin. Yeah, I think Netflix are also quite concerned whether if the monthly subscription price will actually go up lah. But yeah, we shall see, right? We shall see. Okay, so the next stock that I have over here, right, will be by Joshing, right? Notice two bullish 1GT signals for Royal Bank of Canada on 21st of November and started buying this stock at around 150, 156, 167 as the price went up. Should I continue to accumulate this stock? Right, great question, Josh. So I actually opened up this chart, right? And I think I was also telling right, the signals that you have and the signals that I have. Maybe I just hide your comment first because maybe cannot see the bottom of my screen, right? So over here, right, you can see that just now Josh mentioned that, the signals, right, that he see is 21st November, right? So 21st November, I think perhaps you might not have clicked this adjusted for data for dividend, right? Because that's where you see actually on the 21st here. So usually when we actually use this indicator and on the chart, we want it to be as accurate as possible. We got to click this, adjust for dividend, right? And this is where you can see the signals actually coming out. So some of you guys might be asking, hey, why my signal and your chart, the signal like a bit different? Just make sure that this ADJ is actually being clicked on and is selected, okay? So let's cover Joshing question, right? So yeah, you see that you saw the 1GT bullish signal, but it's not too far off. I mean, the signals here, we have 4 consecutive signals, and the one that you saw, actually happened somewhere here where the 2 consecutive signals actually came out, right? And then you said you started buying this stock at 3 different tranches, right? Let's see, 150, maybe let me just circle somewhere around 150 here, right? 156, okay, let's see, 156 somewhere here. and then you buy again at 167. Wow, you buy so many times, 167. Okay, and then the price continue went up. Should you continue to accumulate this stock? Okay, so right now when we see Royal Bank of Canada, right, definitely I think Joshing's mindset is in the right direction, right? Because you're thinking about buying into a stock that is in a uptrend, right? Definitely the trend is going up, we all can see, right? All three moving averages pointing up, and we not just have 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 consecutive 1 GT bullish signal that is actually still in play, right? So the mindset is correct that you want to buy into a stock that is going up, right? Because you want to increase your exposure. But I think the other thing that perhaps we might also want to be mindful of, right, for all of us over here, not just Joshing, right, for all of us over here, is that when you see stock prices starting to go up very fast, right, rallying up very fast, right, you cannot feel FOMO one, because once you actually feel FOMO, then you will keep wanting to chase the stock. And then that's when your emotions get involved, and that is where sometimes you might make irrational decisions, right? So when we think about buying into a stock, correct, we want to buy into an uptrending stock, but we don't just want to buy just because, I scared the price go up, I faster buy, right? So for this case, right, I think Joshua, your initial entry, at I think this 150, definitely is a very, very good one. Why would I say that? It's because prices, as we can see from Royal Bank of Canada, right, it has kind of just been consolidating, right, from September all the way to December, right over here, kind of like moving in a sideways range, right? And it was trading kind of between these levels that I've drawn out, around 140 as a support and close to 148, right, this level as a resistance, right? It was just going up and down, sideways here, right? And eventually it broke out above this 148, which is, I believe, also coupled with the fact that you saw a 1GD bullish signal coming out, right? And then you potentially take action, right? You took an action and you actually entered upon a breakout near this 150, right? Which is your very first purchase, right? So this, I would say, definitely is one of a very, very good entry that we all want to look for, right? Especially for a breakout strategy. But of course, these carry on more risk. Like I mentioned, breakout strategy always carry on more risk. So for Joshing now, right, the thing is that I don't know whether you already have a trading plan in place. What's your trading plan, right? Like, do you have a stop loss plan in place as well? Because for this particular stock, you see for yourself, from here to here is just only a matter of maybe 2 to 3 weeks. Like, price have gone up by about 12%. And over this 1 to 2 weeks period, do we see any sort of consolidation happening? No, right? We don't see it. It just continues to move up by about 12% in about 1 to 2 weeks. Maybe some sort of consolidation here, like here, right? There could be one over here, but it's just 3 days, right? And maybe here, like here. But these two levels, I would say, not very confident in terms of the support zone, right? Because if we want to talk about support zone, we want to know that that level has been tested at least multiple times, right? Like so, like tested here, tested here, tested here. As many candlesticks as possible has tested the level, the more weight we want to give it, right? So for this period that it gone up, there isn't a meaningful consolidation that is happening, right? So prices have gone up. So now the thing is that I think for your case, right, perhaps you might want to think more about protecting your profits and protecting your capital. If you're still sitting on profits right now, right, protect your profits as well, right? As price continue to actually move up. Because if you were to ask me right now, how high can the price go? I also don't know. I won't be able to tell you, right? I won't be able to tell you that, hey, price can go up to $200, $300. I don't know, right? And I think the best gauge for now is that we want to see if prices were to retrace back, right? Where is buyers coming back in? Then potentially you think about adding in more position, because at this point in time, if prices continue to go up, then you add, your average cost price will keep going up, right? And suddenly, if it were to suddenly reverse, right, if your average cost price is too high and it hit your stop loss, perhaps you could also be sitting on some losses, right? So we want to think about buying only when prices have kind of like consolidate and is near a support, right? So maybe let me just turn on this trading support to take a look as well, right? So if you guys don't already know, right, this trading support, it is a dynamic support, right? So it is part of the function right over here in this One Good Trend Pro indicator. With just a click of button, I turn it on, and we can see that, as you can see, this trailing support, right, it moves as the price moves up. It trails the prices at its move up, right? You can see this green shaded area. So as price move up, you move up, right? If the price goes sideways or come down, you will just kind of like move sideways, right? The trailing support will just move sideways, right? So as you can see here, when prices was kind of consolidating sideways, the trailing support is sideways also, right? And we want to think about accumulating when prices is actually near support, like like these areas right over here, when it is near a support, right, near a support zone. So this trailing support, right, by the way, it also gives you an allowance, right, because it gives the stock room for it to breathe, right? Because as you can see from the candlestick to this trailing support, there's some sort of gap that is happening over here, right? And this gap actually allows the stock the room for it to breathe, right? And prices, as long as it is holding above a trailing support, is it a good thing? Yes, it is, right? Because you give it room to breathe, the stock continue to go up, the trailing support continue to choose the prices up, great, right? But if prices were to break below a trailing support like so, right over here, if prices break below a trailing support after you give it room to breathe, we get a 1GD bearish signal. Not great, right? Not so good. That's where you want to, think about reducing exposure or getting out of a stock, right? So for Joshua case, right? So right over here now, you said that you have stop, yeah, you have placed stop loss. Okay, great. You have placed stop loss as it continues to go up. So now the thing is that you want to think about accumulating, right? Because definitely uptrend still intact, but we don't just want to anyhow buy, right? If price continue to go up, straight away buy. No, we don't want to do that. We want to wait for a bit of consolidation first before buying or before adding in more position, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that the uptrend is also sustainable, because if this stock continue go up like that, you also will be a bit scared, right? I mean, of course, happy because you are sitting on unrealized profit, right? But unrealized profit is unrealized profit until you have realized it, it's not your money, right? So you got to take active steps to protect your profits as well, okay? And thinking about accumulation, we want to accumulate only when we see, best is if it is near a support and if prices is able to consolidate, right? Like, so maybe let me just draw this. Okay, if this is the range, right? If prices is able to consolidate like that, over here, like that, before it actually moves up, even better. And then that is where we want to accumulate near a support, right? And overall, that will actually make the uptrend even more healthy and more sustainable. And perhaps by then, if it breaks out again, we get another 1GD bullish signal, another confirmation, great. Okay, so Joshing, I hope that gives you something to think about as well, and some of the levels, right, to take note. But good that you are actually practicing your stop loss as well and continue to shift your stop loss up as you continue to ride the trend. All right, awesome work. Okay, so now I think I will pass the time. Is it to Jiayi? Yeah, to Jiayi to cover the next stock.
Yeah, thank you, Z. Okay, next one I'll be covering will be by Victor. So I think he mentioned that holding some shares of AMD. Is there any bullish signal for the continued bullish of AMD? So actually, based on what we can see here, in terms of the near term wise, we actually see that the 20 days moving average is actually already starting to point downwards, and there was a 1GT bearish signal that actually appeared back in around 19-20 November. So you can see that prices actually came back down from the all-time high, which is around the 270 level, near the resistance level, and then it came back down to the support of the 200. So if you look at the 100 days and 200 days, overall it's still pointing up. It means that the midterm and the long-term strength is still there. It's still quite bullish. It's just that the short-term wise, there's some selling pressure and causing the price to came back down to the 200 support level. So I think Victor, you mentioned holding some stocks of AMD, but not too sure what price you actually got in. Maybe back in April, May, if you got in at that price, now you should be sitting on some profit. But if you entered recently near the resistance level, then you might have some losses lah. So I would say if you are previously you entered quite a while back, if you're sitting on some profit, it's good, but you also might want to consider actually taking some profit since it's actually showing some short-term weakness, especially now it's moving back to near the 100 days moving average, which is around the 200 psychological support level. So you might want to take note that if prices were to actually start to break below this level, this 200 psychological level, you might need to consider to have a stop loss plan, because you might see actually there might be more weakness coming in, maybe going back to near the 160 support level, which is near the 200 days moving average. So yeah, some losses just recently. Okay, so it looks like you actually just got in recently. Then in this case, you might want to actually consider to have some stop loss plan as well when you enter, because no, not too sure what's the price they entered at, but now there's some short-term weakness. But also take note at this key level, 200 support level. If prices continue to break below this support 200 key support level, you might see more weaknesses back to the 160 next level of the support. So I would say, if you are having some losses, best to also have a stop loss plan depending on risk appetite. And just monitor and set some alerts as well if prices were to break below this 200 level. Yeah. If not, that's all from my end. I'll pass back my time to Bhavin.
All right, thanks, Jai. A very quick one for AMD. I think one of those stocks that many people are also actually monitoring after that rebound. All right, so next up, I think, what is it? I saw something that I wanted to cover. Here we go. Ivan, hi. Good. Is that what time is it? Good afternoon. Just nice 12 p.m. Lulu is very hot since yesterday. Can cover this stock. You see any opportunity to get in the nearer term, in the near future? Sorry. All right, so this is Lululemon on my screen right now. I think it looks like for Lululemon, the weakness has started since the start of this year. Right? There was weakness. I mean, look at that. I think since the start of this year, we just go down all the way to the current price level. Prices have seen a discount of over 50%. All right, so previously, I mean, if you look past 2024, it came down from a even higher point. So what does it look like right now? I think right now it looks like, let me just turn off that trailing support first. A bit messy. Okay, so right now it looks like there are what we call lower highs forming in the longer term. All right, I definitely agree with you that yes, maybe in the near future or in the present, we actually see it's so tight together. 1, 2, 3, 1 GT bullish signals with that 20 days moving average indeed pointing up. However, if you want to just take a step back like what I did just now, just do be careful because prices have fallen from that $500 level up to right now it's already 185. So yes, in the nearer term, there is some strength that is present, but we still see that longer term downtrend intact. All right, so I think maybe you want to be a little bit more careful. A little bit more careful first. Doesn't mean that got 1 GT bullish signal must straight away buy. No, you want to look out for the other signs as well. All right, so what are the other signs potentially you can watch out for would be a reversal play in the longer term. All right, so definitely yes, of course, you can make the argument that yeah, if I buy at 180 and then the prices go up to 300, then wow, that's a very very good reversal play. But right now there is some initial signs, but there's no confirmation of that yet. So you're taking on additional risk. So that's why we don't usually recommend for people to buy stocks that are in a longer term downtrend. You don't want to accumulate on those stocks because that longer term weakness could continue as well. So I think right now we still see, I would say that $200 psychological level is one level, maybe that 200 to maybe about that 205 level is a level maybe firstly you want to watch out for first. Why? It's because if prices are able to breach that 200 to maybe 205 level, you could see that 20 days moving average extend out a little bit and at least cross over that 100 days moving average first. And then you may start to see that 100 days moving average just start to flatten out a little bit. All right, so then at least you can see a little bit of relief, a little bit of buying pressure at least coming back in, because as you can see in the past, that would be the initial sign, right? Initial sign of a reversal. Look at that. This is back then in 2024, end of the year. Something similar could happen where you start to see prices, the 20 days moving average, yes, we are maybe in the earlier phase, started to point up, but haven't crossed above that 100 days moving average just yet, and 100 days moving average hasn't flattened out just yet as well. And potentially, once it has started to flatten out, you are definitely you're buying more expensive compared to here rather than you buy here, right? But this gives you that additional confirmation. If you want a further confirmation, grade here, right above that, at that point, that 325 to $330 level. That is the best confirmation that at this point that a reversal could happen. All right, so right now I think we are very, very early on to that reversal. You don't want something like this to happen. Prices briefly head up and then it started to tumble back down again. All right, so I think right now, if prices not able to hold above the 185 level, I think weakness can continue, or weakness can come back and push prices back towards the 150 to about 160 support area. So you can get very, very, very slippery very fast. Yes, the 3-1 GT bullish signal is there. Maybe, I think firstly set up some alerts first. Set up some alerts above that 205 level, 206, 207. Then maybe we come back and see then again to make a further judgment. Definitely not in a rush to continue to buy immediately, because let's say the upside is towards 200, that's a 13% upside. But then if prices tumble down, that's a 15% downside. If that 155 level breaks, that's about 16% downside. The risk to reward is also not justifiable for you to buy something that is in this downtrend right now. Okay, so I think that is a very quick one for Lululemon. Pass the time back to Z for the next stock.
Alright, thanks, Bervin. Yeah, I also don't know why Lululemon stock, as in I do and like Lululemon product and it's also quite pricey but then its stock is just going the other direction. But cannot be biased, right? Cannot be biased. Just because you like the product, then you buy a stock, cannot be like that, right? Okay, so before I proceed to the next stock, right, maybe I'll just do a quick recap of what we have already covered so far, because I think some of you guys are asking some of the stocks that we already covered, but don't worry, because after this live show, you will be able to actually watch the replay on YouTube, right? And let me just do a very quick recap before I move on, right? For the start, Bervin actually did a market update, right, about the S&P 500 and also the Dow Jones Index. And then the very first stock that Bervin covered was actually Google, right, followed by Oracle, and then Amazon, Johnson & Johnson, and then Jia Yi actually covered Micron, right? And then we have Keysight Technologies, Western Digital Corporation, and then followed by Netflix, right? And after that, I covered Royal Bank of Canada, Advanced Micro Devices, covered by Jia Yi, right? And then Bervin has just covered Lululemon. Okay, so now let's move on to the next stock, and I think this would be the 13th stock for today. So maybe me and Bervin will do one more round, and then after that, perhaps we can kick off today's session with the bonus stock, right? And I'm sure you guys are also very excited, right, to hear what's Jia Yi's bonus stock for today, because he'll be sharing it for the first time. Okay, so let me just change my screen right over here. Okay. And the stock that I'll be covering right now would be this stock called CRDO Technology, right, by Christina. Christina, I hope you are still here. You are thinking about buying CRDO. Is now a good time to enter. So actually, this stock, I don't think we have really monitored this stock, right? So I just take a quick look as to what this company does. I think this company is in the info technology space, right? And I think it's something to do with like circuit boards, integrated circuit, right? Electrical cables and chips, right? So Okay, so let's take a look at the stock, right, and what is the price action actually telling us. Okay, so for CRDO Technology right now, longer term trend looks okay, right? I mean, looks positive lah. Red up, blue up, both heading up, right? Shorter term trend wise, I think not that great. I mean, it goes up and down lah. I mean, previously, if you asked me a couple of months back, definitely it is going up, right? But then subsequently, it went up and down, and now generally it's just moving sideways, right? If I zoom in, you can see that it's kind of just moving sideways, right? So short-term trend is heading sideways. At least it's not pointing down, right? At least it's just kind of like going sideways. Longer-term trend still intact, right? And when we turn on the 1GT bullish and bearish signal, right over here, we see a 1GT bullish signal happening. So just to reaffirm, you guys, and also as to what Bervin has shared earlier on, when we see a bullish signal, right, it doesn't immediately mean that, hey, I see bullish signal already, I will faster want to go and buy, right? Bullish signal indicate that there is buying pressure, yes, but as a whole, we still got to look at, the bigger picture, right? We cannot just base on one factor to make a decision. You got to base on multiple factors, right? To increase your chance of a higher probability winning trade, right? So we got one GD bullish signal, but as you can see, prices it still came back down. It still pulled back. The market sentiment is still not strong for this particular counter, right? And prices actually pull back consecutively for I think about 1 to 2 weeks, right? And you can see that right over here, this candlestick, it is a very bearish candlestick lah. Why? Because like what I mentioned earlier on, long upper shadow, right? And this happens where? Exactly near this $200 psychological level. So that's the reason why I always mention like, sometimes psychological level is a level whereby it's easy for people to place the order, to buy, to sell. Like it's just around a nice number that psychologically people always tend to block at that level, right? So here is where we know that selling pressure actually return, right? Based on the candlestick itself and also based on the level that's being drawn, right? I mean, of course, previously back here in November, somewhere in November, it neared it lah, didn't even touch the 200, selling pressure came back in already and pushed price back down, right? So 200, as of now, we know that this is an immediate level, a psychological level that we need to take note of, right? So psychological level for resistance done, right? So now what about support level? Because you are thinking about buying, right? So when we look at support level for CRDO right now, one of the support level that I think I've drew over here, right? I think will be around this 120, right? This 120, this area, it was testing, right? I mean, it went up and down, not very clear. Some, it broke out above, came back down, but prices swiftly, like, buying pressure came back, held above it, right? So, 120, I would say, will be one of the zones, right? And plus, is as I mentioned, psychological, right? It's a level that we want to take note of. And also because of this candlestick, we saw that buying pressure actually returned, right, near this 120, opposite of this, opposite of the long upper shadow, right? So now we know that support potentially could be around this 120, this support zone here, right? And here could be a resistance, right? Because this is where we saw selling pressure actually return, right? So when you think about buying now, as of last night, price closed at 154, right? 154, and as Bervin always like to use the term no man's land, because now you see the support and the resistance, the one that we have identified, right? Let me change this to this price now is a bit not here, not there, right? It's not exactly the support, not exactly as the resistance, as what Bervin like to call it, no man's land, right? It's just stuck there in the middle, right? So when we want to think about buying, like at the support, right? Like I know I sound like a broken record, but that's the framework, that's the whole key, right? We want to buy near like at the support zone, at the support level. So this could be one of the areas, right, whereby you can be setting some price alerts as well to notify you if prices were to retrace, back to this level to potentially position yourself for entry. And of course, if prices is able to rebound from the support level, right, we are looking at this range, which is about 60 over percent, 60 over percent from this 120 range to $200 range. Okay, but at this point in time, based on what we are seeing, right, in terms of the price action over the past couple of weeks, it does seem a bit more bearish, right, at this point in time, right? And I think for now, like I mentioned, do set some price alert to see if prices will be able to retrace back to the potential support zone, right, for you to take action, right? Otherwise, the other option, right, that you can alternatively look at is to actually pull out what we call the trading support, right? So with this trading support, as you can see, let me just remove this. Okay, so this trading support, as you can see, it is over here as well, right? Somewhere it's very close to the 120 support zone that I've drawn earlier, right over here, right? And like I've mentioned earlier on, the trading support is actually a dynamic support, right? Comparing to the horizontal support that we drawn, that one we own self draw one, right? We can just place the support near 120, 130. It depends on where you see the price action is being tested. That level, the more times it's tested, that's the level that you actually draw, right? But this trading support is dynamic and it accounts for the stock volatility. So if maybe you think that prices may not go back all the way to the 120, right? You can also use this trailing support as a guide for you to position yourself for entry, right? Taking into account of the stock volatility itself. So it's not too far off from the 120 horizontal support that we've drawn. But the horizontal support that we've drawn, just bear in mind that it doesn't account for volatility, all right? But this 130 to 140, this potential support zone, it would actually account for the stock volatility. And this also could be a zone whereby you can potentially position yourself for entry if you are thinking about getting in, right? But of course, if prices were to break below this support, this trailing support, right, definitely we will get a 1GT bearish signal that is coming out, right? So do think about your stop loss plan, right? Depending on your risk appetite, whether you want to, place it slightly below the trailing support, or you want it to be below the horizontal support by giving it additional room to breathe on top of the room that is given by the trading support. Okay, so think about your stop loss plan, right? Don't just think about entering, but think about stop loss plan, because target, this one pretty much covered, right? We mentioned that the target is somewhere near a resistance, and that's where we want to take profits, right? So target, we got it. Support, based on the entry, got it, right? But then at the end of the day, do think about your risk appetite and do your own position sizing as well to see, what is the ideal amount of shares that you could potentially be purchasing, right? And then manage your downside with a trading plan. Okay, so I hope that helps, Christina, for CRDO to give you some levels to take note of. Okay, so I think with that, I'll pass the time back over to Bhavin to cover the next stock.
All right, okay, so let's go. What is the next stock? Here we go. Tasina. Hopefully I didn't butcher your name. Looking to buy WM. Right? WM is one of those company that I think was, I don't know whether it's still on Buffett's list or not. But right now, we just change the screen first. Right now, it looks like for waste management, I think it's one of the counters. If you guys are not aware, right? So waste management is a company that does, as the name implies, it is covering waste management and like those environmental services. So a little bit like those Sembcorp that you actually see under your house, coming to collect trash, but they do a little bit more than that as well. They do a bit of recycling as well. Okay, so I think waste management so far, I mean, there was a pullback, all right? There was a pullback for waste management from that $240 high. Right, the $240 high right there, we can see that prices or sellers actually came in to take some profits. Right, found a little bit of a support, found a little bit of a temporary support right around that 220 level previously. All right, so this is where buyers came in, tried to push prices back up again, and once again met with sellers coming in close to that 240 level. All right, so a couple of 1GT bearish signals then subsequently started to appear. 1, 2, 3 prices started to slip down as well, trying to find some support right around that 210 level, 210 to about 212 level. That's where some buyers actually came in. But here's the thing, that bearish crossover has happened. All right, bearish crossover has happened. That 20 days moving average, yes, previously was sloping down, now currently pointing up. So these are what we call like mixed signals. So not here, not there. There's some good points, some bad points. But how do you actually decide? All right, how to actually decide? Firstly, we have a 1GT bullish signal that just appeared in November. All right, towards the end of November, we have a 1GT bullish signal that appeared right there. That 20 days moving average is right now right around that 210 to 212 level as well. Currently, this acts as a resistance. Let me just change that color. Currently, it acts as a resistance. Yesterday night, some sellers indeed came back, but not too much. I think still within a reasonable range as well. Not able to recapture that 212 level. So I think that is a sign where sellers are pretty much looking at this 212 level to actually take some profits, especially for those that bought close to that 200 psychological level. This could be potentially where they lock up some tiny profits, some small profits as well. All right, so I think definitely if you are looking to buy, right, Tasina, you do not want to buy close to a resistance, firstly. All right, so I think you want to wait for a confirmation of the breakout for the first signal or the first confirmation for you. The second thing, all right, in order to be a little bit more certain, wait for that 100 days moving average to start to slope up, not just flatten this time. You want it to slope up first. Why? Is because the moment it starts to slope up, that 200 days moving average will then start to flatten out. That's a good sign of a reversal, maybe a potential breakout above that 220 level could happen as well, right? Because that is the subsequent target, right? That is the subsequent target. So I don't know about you. I think maybe not just yet. You want to maybe just wait for one more breakout above 220 level, buy in a little bit more expensive, fine, but you unlock that upside from 220 all the way to that 240 level. Right, so I think that is potentially more like more meat, more profit or more upside compared to buying at 210 and having a worry that 220 might be met with sellers once again. So I think a couple of alerts, maybe one alert above 220, all right, another alert, not just a typical price alert, we can also add what we call a 1GT buy or sell alert. Right, so this is a technical alert. You can set it so then just select buy or sell once per bar. That means the signal will only show up one time per bar, and then click create. And then once prices are in play, or once you receive these two signals, then maybe come in to consider that entry again, to position yourself, to ride yourself to the upside to that 240 level. And then when it approaches at 240 level again, I think it's completely okay, because in the past, that is where you saw sellers actually come in. It's nothing wrong to sell some, take some profits close to 240 level. In fact, that is great as well. But what about the downside? All right, so if you are doing a reversal play, you don't want to be caught in a false breakout or false reversal, right? Okay, so by then you would have that trailing support. Right, that trailing support as prices break above that 220 level, that trailing support will then start to head up already. Right, maybe it's here, I'm just drawing, but you want to set your stop losses below that trailing support. So manage the risk. All right, there is upside, but then of course there is downside. So I mean, of course, there is that saying as well, protect your downside and your upside will take care of itself. All right, so I think right now for risk management, just monitor first. Let's see if there's a potential or the reversal can continue to play out. All right, so I think there is a quick one for waste management. The stock code was WM. Pass the time back to Z, I believe, for the last stock before we go into our bonus stocks for today.
Yeah, okay, sure. Thanks, Mervin. Okay, so I think maybe the last stock that I'll cover today, right, will be by Damien, right? And I think this would be a stock that perhaps some of you guys have also been monitoring, because this stock is also one of the stocks that we have been covering, right? In some of our past Ask Me Any Stock session as a bonus stock. So I think it'll be good that you guys also get an update lah, on what's happening for this stock. And especially so Damien is asking, right? Thinking about Welltower as well, thinking about getting in, but not sure about the trend, right? Okay, so let's take a look at Welltower, right? So Welltower, this actually has been a bonus stock, right, that we have been covering, I think, since at the early start of the year, right? And as you can see, prices really went all the way up. The uptrend is pretty strong, right? And we see multiple 1GT bullish signal, but of course, at some areas there are selling pressure that came back in, right, and push prices back down. We get 1GT bearish signal. And right now, right? So right now, what do we see is that we see price as of last night close at 184. And we also see another 1GT bearish signal coming out, right? So this is a new 1GT bearish signal that coming out, and it means that there is more selling pressure returning. Plus, you just look at the candlesticks on its own, 4 days, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 consecutive days, very red long bearish candlestick. So it's giving very bearish price action, all right? And these are some of the levels, right, that I think we have drawn and highlighted previously when we were also talking about this stock, right? And you can see that it has broken what we call multiple support level already. And all these, I should actually turn it to red, right? Because it has turned from a support to become a resistance, But in fact, actually, what we want to look out for is the opposite, right? We want to see resistance becoming a support, because price break above it, red become green. But now it's the other way around, right? Green become red. So not that great, right? Because now we are seeing more weakness in this counter, and especially so that the 20 days moving average, right, has really started to show some signs of it pointing back down. So now the immediate support level that perhaps Damien and also the rest of you who are looking at this stock, right, where can you potentially monitor, right? I think the immediate resistance definitely would be around this 180, right, over here, right, this $180 level, because this level, as you can see, it was previously definitely a resistance, then it was actually tested here as well. We have an anomaly in terms of like this very red long bearish candlestick, right, and it's probably the catalyst, I would believe so, is very much due to the earnings result that actually came in, right? But then subsequently, prices managed to hold above these 180 since then, right? And we got a 1GD bullish signal. So now price looks to be coming back down. Like what Ivan said, right? Well deep like a waterfall now, really like waterfall. So now the thing is that when it comes down, we want to monitor whether this particular zone, which is the 180, right, can we potentially see buying pressure return again? Can we potentially see candlesticks that are, like what I mentioned earlier on, like candlesticks with long lower shadow, right? Candlesticks that are looking like that. Can this actually appear here? Can we see buying pressure actually returning to support the price at 180, right? I think if, let's say today, the price dipped to 180, and you have to ask, hey, is it a good time? Because you say that, at support zone, you want to buy. Is it a good time to buy? I would say at least monitor for maybe a couple of days first, because as mentioned, right, the price action for the past 4 days has been pretty bearish, right? So I'm not sure whether if, let's say today, it dips near the 180, yes, but can it hold above this 180? That's the question. If you were to ask me now, I also don't know, right? You ask Mervin, Joey, or Jia, I think we won't be able to tell you whether can it hold above this 180, but this definitely will be a very crucial level for us to actually watch. And especially if you're thinking about getting in, don't rush, right? Don't rush, because like we always mentioned, sometimes people might just want to get into a stock because they think that it is cheap. But like what Mervin mentioned earlier on, right, the phrase that we always say, cheap can become cheaper, right? And we don't want to get caught in a situation whereby you buy cheap, then it becomes even cheaper. Then how? You want to buy some more? Then after that, you are throwing like good money over bad money. We don't want that, right? So 180 definitely is something to watch. And if this 180 break, right, I think very likely we will have another 1GD bearish signal. And that's where, potentially you want to just put this watch list aside. Put this Welltower aside and just continue to monitor it in your watch list, but don't have to, rush into just buy into a stock, right? Because potential downside that we are looking at if prices is unable to hold above the 180, right, will be back towards this support at about 160, right? And the downside that we are looking at will be around close to 10%. All right. So especially for those of you, who have gotten in Welltower, right, when we first highlighted this stock somewhere at the start of the year, right, you will definitely be sitting on profits already, right? You see, even if let's say as to price close last night, the profit is maybe if you got in when the first 1GD bullish signal came out, you are still sitting on about 21% profit, which is healthy, right? So always remember to actually take active steps to protect your profits, right? Because of course, if you have set your stop limit order while you continue to ride the uptrend, perhaps somewhere around here on this day, you would have already gotten out and you would have already realized your profits, right? So that is the whole reason why we always say that, having a stop limit order is important, right? Because that's where, you can protect your profits while you continue to ride the uptrend. In case of situations like this happening, and prices just plunge, at least you realize your profits and you won't be sitting on unrealized losses. Like if it continue to go down and you do nothing about it and you are back to square one. Okay, so that's not what we want to achieve. That's not what we want to see. Okay, so for Welltower, for Damien, right, I think at this point in time, like I mentioned, 180 definitely set some price alert here to monitor and watch out for, and have your alerts set up in place for the next support as well, right? Over here, 160, 180, and 190 will be the immediate resistance that we are actually looking at. If prices were to rebound from 180, potential immediate upside target, I think we'll be back to the 190 first, because this is where we saw selling pressure return. Okay, so Welltower, I think so far now, it still looks okay in the longer term, but shorter term, definitely some weakness. So we need to monitor first. Don't rush. Okay. So that will be for Welltower. And I think now we have come to the end of the Ask Me Any Stock session in terms of the live stock by you guys, right? So I will pass the time back over to Bervin so that he can actually share our bonus stock for today.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Z. Okay. So I think there is, if your stocks wasn't covered because there's really too many stocks already. So we try to cover as many as we can, but I think I was just scrolling through and just seeing maybe there are like maybe 20 to 25 stocks that we actually didn't manage to cover. We are so sorry about that. I mean, there is of course limited time, so we will try to cover as much as we can. But if you did not manage to cover your stocks, we hope that you can continue to join us, for the next AMAS. Next week will be Singapore. Then after that, the following week we are on a break. All right. I think everybody is going on a short holiday or something like that. So we'll not be doing the AMAS on the last week of December. All right, but we'll come back in 2026, and then that first one will be the US one. So I think it's very good timing for if you are in the US market since the start of the year. Yeah, I think that's a good start. The AMAS will be a good one for you. Hope you can come here and join us. All right, so let me just move on to our bonus stocks. All right, so who is ready for the bonus stocks can just type B in the chat. Not B for Bervin, B for bonus. Just switch my screen. There we go. Okay, here we go. Ivan ready. Victor ready. Bonus stock. Okay. Yatri ready. Bonus stock. Okay, fantastic. Oh, Yatri, just nice. This was the stock that you were requesting. This was the stock you're requesting. You're requesting about JPMorgan Chase. I mean, the stock code is JPM. All right, so this is my bonus stock for today. I think you would have seen this stock covered in our newsletter as well. Right, previously we have covered it in our newsletter. Oh, sorry, if you guys did not know, we have a newsletter for clients that are under Joey in Philips Securities. So I just want to check who are clients of Joey under Philips Securities. Maybe you can let us know so we can acknowledge you. Thank you for your time for today as well. Just type a C in the chat if you are a client of Joey's under Philips Securities. All right, definitely Yatri must be a client, correct? C, Emily. Hi, Emily. Thanks for joining us today. Eric, thanks for joining us today. Barney, thanks for joining us. JP, thanks for joining us. Victor, thanks for joining us. Yeah, we see you every week, almost every week. Tasina, thanks for joining us. All right, so let me just very quickly, if you guys are not clients of Joey's, all right, not clients of Joey's under Philips Securities. So what do you get if you want to be a client? Or what does it cost to be a client of Joey's under Philips Securities? You do not, firstly, you do not need to pay anything more than what you are paying to trade. You surely need a broking account to trade, a trading account to trade. You're maybe using a specific type of account with a credit limit, a margin account, a prepaid account. That is all the same. You do not pay any additional cost to be a client under Joey in Philips Securities. But what do you get extra? You get value-added services. You get things like the newsletter stocks. All right, the newsletter. So we cover the Singapore market, the US market, and the top 3 stocks every month. And on a daily basis, you get the top ideas for the Singapore market via WhatsApp community for free. All right, via WhatsApp community for free. I think Z have very kindly placed the link to be a client of Joey's under Philips Securities in the chat. I mean, if you'd like to find out a little bit more, just click in the link. All right, just saw Roland. Roland, so sorry. Your stock not covered today. Don't worry, just come back and join us next time around. Be sure to make sure to cover at least one of your stocks. Next time around, I'll put a special note there. All right, okay, so just let me dive right in to JPMorgan and Chase. Right, stock code is JPM. Yatri, I think there was one other person, I think it was Kelly or something that was asking about JPM as well. I cannot find that message anymore, but no worries. There we go. My bonus stock is JPM. We have the longer term trend still looking good, right? The longer term trend still definitely pointing up. That right there still pointing up. That green and that red and blue line is definitely still pointing up. That green line though, it is currently flattening out a little bit. Right, it's flattening out a little bit, but we found a consolidation range. All right, found a consolidation range. Roughly, some people could be drawing the support here, right around that 290 level. Some could be drawing it at the 300 level. Why? It would depend how are you reading these portions. Right? Some people could be seeing this as a resistance, some people finding this as a support. So I would call it as the 290 to 300 level as a buy zone, right? As a buy zone, if you just draw a box like that, you can see a couple of times buyers or sellers have indeed came in closer to this zone. So Yatri, I saw your message. You have bought it at, sorry, you have bought JPMorgan at 312. So I think right now we are seeing some strength actually coming back to this counter as well. Prices actually rebounded very recently, 3 days ago. Sorry, yeah, 3 days ago from the 300 psychological level once again. But with it being a consolidation phase, you could expect to see sellers coming in close to that 320 range. All right, so I think we are looking to see if there is any newer 1GT bullish signals that could come in. Why? Because currently there is a 1GT bearish signal. All right, 1GT bearish signal. So you have previously already bought. I'm not too sure whether you bought sometime in November or sometime in most recently, like the last 2 days as well. Maybe you could have bought as well. But if you have bought previously, great. I would say that the entry would have been fine as well, because 20 days moving average is up, red line is up, blue line is up, but perhaps a little bit too close to a resistance. Okay, a little bit too close to a resistance. So you're going to be a little bit careful. Right there, sellers actually came in, but most recently we have that 1GT bearish signal. Prices came close to that 290 level, did not break below 290. We see a rebound. All right, we see a rebound, and now we are close to that 320 level. That's a good sign. That's a good sign. So I think if we are able to see a consolidation happen again close to that 320 level, I think that will increase the probability of a breakout, right, closer towards that 320 level. I think that is what we are watching out for. I would say if you are looking for a little bit more of an aggressive entry above that 320, maybe 323, 324, if we see a confirmation, great. But for Yatri specifically, because you have got in, you may be thinking about what is the downside. Right? What is the downside? Potentially because your entry was a little bit higher at 312, your downside could be a little bit wider already, because just down to 290, that would be already about 7% downside. You want to put your stop limit orders maybe 1 to 2% below that support level. That will represent at about 8% downside. 8% downside. All right, so I think maybe the entry could have been a little bit better, maybe a little bit more patient as well, could have helped you to better position yourself without risking too much of that capital as well. But if we do not see a breakout, then we may see a reversal, right? A consolidation that could potentially continue as well. Right, so then that is where potentially, if that 20 days moving average remains a little bit more flat, right, and you wish to get in, for those of you who wish to get in flat, or maybe even if good, it'll be pointing up, but if it's coming down, unlikely that 20 days moving average will be pointing up. That could be a potential entry for you close to within that 290 to that $300 psychological level. All right, but so far I think the trend is still looking good. I think JPMorgan Chase is one of those counters that could stand to in fact benefit from a rate cut that had actually happened due to its investment banking rather than its commercial or retail banking All right, so I think right now JPMorgan Chase is still on our watch list. All right, it's still on our watch list, and I think going into 2026 we will continue to monitor this counter. All right, so before I pass the time to Z, I just want to because I saw some questions in the chat Okay, so SL is checking. All right, so if the newsletter is emailed to members, or do we log in into a portal? All right, so the newsletters are actually sent out via WhatsApp every month. The first we try to do it the first week of the month for clients. as well, and you should also receive it by email as well. If you have not received the December one, I mean, you can reach out to the broking team. I think Brian will be more than happy to actually help you with the newsletter as well. I think he has a copy. He can give it to you as well. All right. Okay. So I'll pass the time now to Z to cover the next bonus stock.
All right, thanks, Vervin. Okay, so let me share my bonus stock with you guys today, and that would be right here, right? And that is Caterpillar, right? So I am sure you guys, you know, if you think about Caterpillar, you think about the yellow logo, like, right? You know, the heavy machineries and stuff. So yeah, that's basically what they do, right? Like Caterpillar, they actually operate through like construction segment, resources, energy and transportation as well. And also for Caterpillar, right? Very recently, I think somewhere in November, that was when they actually released their earnings, right? And I think for Caterpillar, one of their biggest segment growth for this year, right, actually came from the energy segment, right? Because sales actually jumped 17%, right, year on year, and this is partly due to the power generation of, like, you know, data centers, and also to power the data centers lah. So that is one of the biggest revenue for Caterpillar this year, right? And also technically speaking, if we look at Caterpillar, right, I would say that the stock, right, the trend and the chart also looks really beautiful, right? And this is something that I like to see when I look at charts, right? And for Caterpillar over here, right, we can see that at this point in time, of course, the uptrend, long term, short term, definitely is all intact, right? And I think the confirmation also came somewhere in August, right over here, when the red line actually crossed above the blue line as well, right? So 100 days actually crossed above the blue line, which is the 200 days moving average, which is also what we consider as a bullish crossover lah. So it's great, right? In terms of the longer term trend here, given you confirmation already somewhere in August, right? And then at that point in time, green line was actually heading sideways, then it resumed its uptrend, aligning with the longer term trend, right? So at this currently, all three moving averages are definitely still heading up, right? And in terms of the signal wise, we can see that there is a 1 GT bullish signal that is actually still playing out, right? So let me just check from here to where we are at here. That's about 44%. Not too bad, right? Not too bad. Right, 44% rise in price since the first 1 GT bullish signal actually came out. And it's still playing out because there is still no exits yet, right? And for Caterpillar at this point in time, as of last night, yesterday it actually closed at 625.61, right? And based on this, we can see that price actually broke out, right? It broke out upwards from the $600 psychological resistance. So previously it was like that, right? Here was resistance, tested, selling pressure came in, multiple candlestick with long upper shadow, unable to break above it, came back down, retested this level. So this is the level that I actually drew as like a support, somewhere close to 545 to 550, right? This would be one of the support zone, right? That we are this is one of the support zone near the support level, right? And prices rebounded, buying pressure came in, and it went back up to test the $600 a couple of days back, right? Last week, right? Came back down, and eventually it managed to finally break above this 600, and currently it is still holding above it. I think it has been 2 days, right? 2 days. Hopefully, you know, today and the next week we can still see that this $600, right, holds to become a new higher support that has been risen from, you know, 545 to about 600, right? And if this is the new higher support, right, the potential zone of entry we are looking at would be here, right? Makes sense, right? Because this is a new higher support. Buyers are willing to come in and buy at higher prices, and we want to essentially buy near support zone. So this is one area that we could potentially be looking at, as this is a breakout strategy, right? And in terms of breakout strategy, of course, you'll be thinking, hey, then where's my target, right? Because now price is at the all-time high. So the target we can use, like what we say, a very simple projection, right? Like so, right? Simple projection up, and it will be around this 650, which is also what we call a psychological level. So 650 right over here could be one of the psychological level that, you know, profit taking could return, right near this 650 psychological level. So that could be, this is what we see as like a potential upside target of about 8%, right? But of course, I think it will be great for us to see some sideways consolidation like that, go up, come down, go up, come down, before then it break above the 650, and then we project it up again towards the next psychological level at 700. So we are looking at a range of about like close to $50 over for each jump up, right? But provided, the key thing is provided that buyers are stepping in to buy and willing to buy at higher prices, right? So we need to make sure that the support, right, the new higher support actually holds firm before, you know, taking any action. So right now price, is it above 600? Yes, right? But then I think the key is to see whether the next few days, right, today, next week, the more days you actually monitor, right, and the more days it actually holds above the 600, right, the more confirmation that you get that, hey, this new higher support indeed holds. But of course, the drawback is that perhaps you need to get in a bit more expensive. So it is a balance, right, between to see whether you want to take action fast or you want to wait for more confirmation. Because I cannot say, right, for some people, they are more aggressive, right? Then once they break out, right, they take action fast, right? But for some people, maybe they are a bit more risk averse. They want to have more confirmation first before actually taking action. No right, no wrong. So, but the key thing is that now we know 600 is the new psychological level to take note, right? But otherwise, other than that, I think the downside that you got to monitor, I mean, of course, definitely again, would be your stop loss plan, right? Your stop loss plan, if let's say you really do enter based on the breakout strategy right over here, right? A stop loss plan could be placed slightly below, maybe between a 3 to 5% range, again, depending on your risk appetite, to see where would you like to potentially place your stop loss as part of your trading plan, all right? So I think the Caterpillar right now, definitely still looks good because I feel that this is more of like a uptrend reversal, especially with the longer term trend confirming somewhere in August, and prices is actually still heading higher, breaking resistance. All right, so this will definitely still be in my watch list, and to also monitor for the $600 psychological level. Okay, so I think with that, I'll pass the time over to Jia to actually cover and let him share his last bonus stock with you guys.
Okay, thank you, Z. Okay, let me share my bonus stocks. Okay, so my bonus stock will be actually Seagate. So I mean, for Seagate wise, actually it builds the backbone of like the digital storage. So actually the drives and also the infrastructures that allows the AI models to be stored, accessed, and also be processed lah. So this is the counter that I was looking at, and I mean this is a bonus stock that I'll be covering. So if you look at the chart wise, this counter actually, both all three moving averages are actually pointing up. So the 100 days, 200 days, and also the 20 days moving average is pointing up, showing that there's strength. And actually, if you see, based on the 1GT bullish signal, there's actually 3 1GT bullish signal back in start of November, and based on the trend wise, it's still uptrending, which is actually a good sign, that this counter is still quite strong. Actually, we can also see that the prices actually went up above this $300 psychological resistance yesterday, and it stayed above and closed above this 300 level. So if prices were to continue to stay above this 300 level in the next few days, we might see some new support near this level. Let me change it to green color. Okay, so if you are looking at this counter and you want to actually be more aggressive, it's actually just night it actually broke above the 300 level. You may consider to enter near this new support level, and the potential upside to this new target is actually around the 340, which is just based on a simple projection based on the previous 260 support level projected upwards. So around $40 upside. But if prices are not able to stay above these 300 levels, and if you are more conservative, you can actually wait for prices to go back to maybe near that 260 support level. So actually, if I were to turn on the trailing support, you can see that actually prices, the trailing support is actually around the 255, around the 260 level, which is also where I draw my support. So if you're more conservative, you can enter near this level, which might be a better area for you guys to enter if you're more conservative. But if you don't want to miss out the opportunity and you want to actually take higher risk and you think that there's more upside, then you can actually consider to enter near the 300 support level, which actually just broke above yesterday night lah. So actually this is the counter that I'm looking at, which is in my watch list. So if you're interested, you can also look at this counter as well lah. If not, I'll pass my time back to Bhavin.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Jai. So that pretty much wraps things up. I think I covered JPM for my bonus stock. I think Z covered Caterpillar, and then Jai just covered his bonus stock Seagate. All right. I think Z is doing a bit of DJing of our face. I see my face spinning all around. But yeah, sure. No worries. So hopefully, sorry. Okay, so hopefully you guys got some value from today's AMAS session and including our bonus stock as well. So I mean, just type V in the chat below so that we know that that we have indeed delivered some value for you guys. And then if you hope to see Jia again next time round, I mean, you can type something nice in the chat as well so we can get Jia to continue to come along with this AMAS with us. All right. Okay. So maybe before I end, Z and Jai, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't have anything to add, but I just wanted to wish all of you guys, a happy year-end holiday. I think maybe today we don't have a lot of people joining us as usual, maybe because a lot of people are traveling. But if you are traveling and you are still joining us, thank you so much, right? Thank you so much for tuning in. But apart from that, if you are going traveling, in the next 2 to 3 weeks, for the year-end holiday, wishing you guys safe travel as well. All right. Jai, anything to add?
Nothing much. I want to cover that next week will be the last AMS for the whole year. I think Bhavin mentioned just now lah. So that will be the last one for the year and will be on Singapore stocks lah. So whoever are interested in Singapore stocks, feel free to join next week as well. Even though if you're traveling, we'll still be there lah to do the AMS. Yep.
All right.
Basically,
Okay. So ABC, Big V, Susan, Big V, thanks, Bhavin, Z, and Jai. Jessica, thank you. Yup, we cover your stock as well. So Jai is fantastic. Okay, so Jai no choice already. He got to do AMAS next time already. Okay, so Victor, Merry Christmas to you as well and a Happy English New Year. Yes, thank you so much. All right, so guys, thank you so much. Do join us for our next AMAS session. I'll just place the link in the chat. If you guys want to be notified, just simply click on the link right there, and then you are able to be notified when we go live for the next time. All right, guys. All right, so you're signing off. That's Z and that's Jia. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.